That's great. So you also started a networking group yourself, right?
Yes, I did. I started about, actually, it's 2.5 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yacht Real Estate Investors. Originally started it to, because there's so many people on yachts that have money just sitting there and they don't know what to do with it. Some of them just blow through it. They don't know what to do with it. And I did that when I was young too. So I mean, I can't blame them. But that's how it originally started. But it ended up just kind of growing into just a lot of entrepreneurs, just mainly like-minded people that want to do things. And I've recently, last year, I combined with SoFlo Network, which is actually they've changed their brand to Like-Minded, and they're now in, I think, 15 different cities. So I myself do the ones in Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Stewart. I just started in Stewart. Actually, had a meetup last night. And
that's right. I got your message. Yep.
Yeah, and the one in Fort Lauderdale at Yacht Bar is on Thursday.
That's
we've
cool.
We've had up to 90, 100 people.
Oh,
yeah.
It's usually about 50 people.
And again, you just, you started this 2.5 years ago. You just kept chipping away.
Yeah.
Just kept, setting up these meetings.
Yeah. It's just really, it's consistency and just like show up early, keep showing up, and show up often. Just keep being there. And then I met, my partners there, Eric and Bobby. We were having meetup groups at the same time, and it was relatively the same people. We said, well, let's just all do it in the same spot at the same time. And we all, and it's helped us all, really.
Sure.
It's because we're all like-minded. Hey, let's grow the group and bring, people. The thing that made me happy was probably about 6 months ago, quite a few people came up to myself and Eric and Bobby saying, hey, we love coming to this event because, no one's here trying to sell us anything, and everyone's just kind of hanging out, talking and trying to help each other and do deals, or just maybe somebody needs something, and and you may not need it now, but later on, I could call Steve, he's got this, or send Steve over to him, and it's life's what you give, not what you get.
Yep.
And so on one hand, yes, you're putting forth and putting effort into bringing these people together so they can share ideas, so they can learn from each other, they can network together. But then I guess there is the ancillary benefit for you, of course, which is that when it comes time that you're looking to fund a deal, that you've met a network of 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 people that would be at least open and willing to have the dialogue about investing in real estate, or they have their own network of people, correct, too, that you bring them on.
Or you could
so
bring
that's the ancillary benefit, of course, right?
Yes, and it all feeds itself, for me, as long as it's positive and everyone's helping each other, that's not what I initially set it up for. It was just, like I was telling you before, where everyone was trying to, sell us something at the end of the meeting. I just said, I just didn't, that was a big turnoff for me. I wanted a place for people to go, where they could go and talk about it and maybe kind of work through whatever they're needing, or maybe they need some more information about, there's this guy, Ed Milet, that I follow quite a bit, and his book, The Power of One More, says, you're one phone call, one text, you could be one person, one meeting, one opportunity away, so just do one more. Mm-hmm. So, if you go to that one more networking event, hey, that might be, hey, I met Larry. Hey, he's got exactly what I need. Wow,
Sure.
Or, and you never know where it's going to go. But
I think just like for that networking event, some of the benefits is just like you're just there. You're just with people, and when they need you, you're available. It's the same for like a lot of the marketing work we do, right? Like even this video, we're sending it to people, and they may not find value in this today, but 6 months from now, they just think about it, see it, and you're just like, oh, Jaron or Larry or Scott, I should just connect with these guys real quick. I'm trying to do something like this.
It's putting yourself in the right place, and the timing oftentimes works out. It's the right place at the right time, and especially things like this, like YouTube or a regular meetup event. At some point, there is going to be the right time for you. Someone's going to bring you the deal. Scott, I want you to be a part of my team for my 120 unit. I've got an amazing deal here. Let's bring this on. So Yeah, I get that.
You never know what you really need. You might, what I need now could be completely different, because later on, these other opportunities may come up as a result of those relationships, and you may not even have ever even thought of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've set, for years I set all these goals, and usually at the beginning of the year, it's completely different from the end of the year. It's
Good
either
point. Good point.
I crushed all these things, or I was like, I was thinking a lot of times it was like I was thinking way too small. Like if I just get this, I always thought, I bought a house and I rent it. If I get 10 houses in 10 years, I'm good. And then I bought a 13 unit, and I'm like, okay, all right.
You got 13 units.
13.
I'll be on my 10.
Okay.
But
All right. Well, maybe we should get 10 of these. And then syndication. 10 of these. And then
Sure.
and then it's just keeps getting bigger and better.
That's a good point. A lot of people think too small, right? I think you begin to, as you become an entrepreneur, you begin to be aware of that.
Yeah.
That's
every time you get into a bigger room, you go, oh, well, I made it here, but this guy, oh man, he's in that room, and then the room, and then the world gets smaller because now all these people that are doing all these amazing things. And I've always been somewhat of an optimist. I'm a pretty positive person, and it's when you hear all this doom and gloom from everyone, it just means, for me, I'm thinking in the back of my head, well, there's one more person that's not that I don't have to worry about because they're not going to be doing anything. It's going to be wide open for me. There's just more and more stuff.
Here's something I say to John all the time as we work on our YouTube channel and these other things. It's like, it's and it's hard to like grow. So I'm just like, John, this is great. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be really hard for everyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's
easy. Everyone would be doing it.
Right. So let's and we're deep in this. Let's keep pushing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I, looking back on this, whatever it was, you started your channel first before this one a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I remember we were having lots of dialogue about how difficult it is, and the different metrics around it and the technical aspects of it. But once you kind of you just keep persevering. One more. You keep the one more.
Well, I watched that guy Alex Hormozy a lot.
Love him.
I love him. He's like, look, just start doing it, because when you start doing it, you're gonna suck. And just try not to suck. Just keep doing it.
A little less each time.
He said, just keep doing it till you don't suck. Because I started doing a video blog or whatever, and I laughed so hard and I watched him with my kids and my daughter saying, these are terrible. It's like, so monotone.
Dad, you suck.
I don't see any of your personality or anything there. And it's like, these are terrible. Why are you doing this? And it's like, well, obviously because it upsets you.
I'm only doing this to make it ruin your life. I'm going to show all your friends in school.
So you can look it up later on when you're on that first date. Here's your dad. But if you don't, just try to keep doing it. Another guy I follow is that guy, Mr. Beast, and he said, just don't try to do it all at one time. Like maybe this time try to make a better title or a better subject, a better content, or maybe try to enunciate better or communicate better, and just do one of those things each time or each week, and then eventually it'll all be in there. So and he said, look, if the reason why you're not getting any hits or likes is because your videos suck. It's not because it's not the algorithm or the channel or anything. It's because your videos are terrible.
It's simple. It's so simple.
If you make good videos, you'll be good.
It's good.
There's an ex-Navy SEAL, Jocko.
Right? He's great too.
And so he says something about how his people come to him and they say, oh, this bad thing's happening. And he always responds, good.
Good.
Right?
Yeah, good.
So we do that internally. It's like, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Everything's, the building's on fire. Good.
Good. Yeah.
You're going to learn something from this.
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you survive.
Yeah.
So of any other real estate deals that you're considering now, looking at, or you just kind of just take them as they come? Anything just to kind of wrap up the real estate investor
currently
portion?
I'm working on a deal of storage deal. Unfortunately, it's a 506B, so I can't really talk about it too much because there's the difference between a 506B. It's a Reg D offering, which is a 506B and a 506C. C, you can solicit accredited investors only. 506B, you can do accredited and non-accredited. I believe it's 35 non-accredited, but you cannot advertise. It's only you have to have a developed relationship with
previous
people,
relationship.
You would want to put
that's
this out
kind of a gray
YouTube,
area,
right?
so you really can't blast
Understood.
it out. So I can't really talk about. But
well, how about we just talk conceptually about the self-storage and why you like it?
Well,
and those types of deals.
These particular ones are new development, and right now we're in kind of a fuzzy area where a lot of retail investors are kind of fearful. But private equity is there on the sidelines. They're ready to go with all kinds of money sitting there. And new development for generally self-storage takes about 9 to 12 months. And then the other one that I'm involved with as well, it's a 506C. They have a company, a large REIT, that's going to come in and manage it. And they're potentially going to buy it after a couple of years of it being stabilized. So there's that option, and to me it has less risk. Granted, you have to build it and raise all the money and do all those things. It has to be in a good area, but feasibility studies have been done, and there's with self-storage, there's no tenants. You don't have to it's kind of a luxury. People have enough stuff that their extra stuff they're putting into a storage. They don't pay the bill after a month or whatever the time frame is for that.
Get them out.
For that state, you put a lock on it, you sell the stuff, and then you rent it again. It's more dynamic in that it's kind of a month-to-month thing. They can terminate at just about any time, but provided you have a growing area, and a lot of businesses there, corporate headquarters, the same things you do when you're researching a multifamily area or, even single family, a growing area, high employment, lots of good businesses moving there. Those kind of things make it a great area to where it's going to be stable, and it'll just continually go up until the thing with self-storage is that when it gets to a certain amount where there's too much self-storage in the area, it becomes saturated. I believe generally it's like 8 square foot per capita.
Interesting.
But once you get over that threshold, it's probably you should have sold out and moved to a different area. It's great to be an expert in an area, but at a certain point, every area is going to time out. Even with with multifamily or residential, every area goes through its heyday. Look at Detroit. It was the 50s. It was booming. So is Buffalo. Now Buffalo is kind of coming back up again a little bit, and Detroit's kind of coming back, but it went through a pretty bad area when, it had one industry there, the car industry, and when that went down, it took everything with it.
I tend to agree with you just to an extent. On the other hand, though, I would just counter that with, for example, because our expertise is South Florida here, they're really not building any more workforce housing here. They just don't do it. There's no more supply coming, and it's undersaturated.
Well,
there's a high need for it, and so when we focus on kind of the class, let's call it B minus to C kind of housing, it's the demand is significant, and they keep building this Class A housing around here, apartments and condos, and there needs to be a workforce to service these people.
There is kind of there's a reason why they're only building Class A's because that's the only thing that pencils out.
I agree.
The cost to build
I agree.
B and C is astronomical compared to the rents you're going to get. So it won't work.
I agree.
Unless they do some type of tax abatement for the Class A. And they say, okay, 20% has to be, because I've seen that.
Sure,
actually
they're doing
in Texas, they're doing that. 20% has to be the workforce housing and stuff like that. And I would say that to your point, that is absolutely true, because it really, the only way you're going to do a Class B or C is if you're doing a value add. You're buying an older building
and turning it from Class C to B.
And then you'll probably see some of the areas go to where you can have additional units in the back. California's doing that a lot. They'll probably start doing it here a lot more.
We got upzoned on one of our buildings. We bought an 8, and we're turning into a 12.
You were telling me that, and that's great.
Yep.
But those are like little sort of tweaks on the fringes.
Well,
there's I don't know what the actual demand is. I haven't seen a feasibility study for workforce housing here, but I can only imagine that there's a need for thousands and thousands of units
at a certain
corridor here.
At a certain point, all those people will start moving somewhere else because they can't afford to live here.
Yes and no, and they do. You see a flow of it, but there's just always so again, someone here in, let's say, Boca Raton or East Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach, or and as these neighborhoods get even nicer, like Palm Beach Gardens and Jupiter, I mean, just the prices going up. Someone's got to work at the restaurants and the bar. Someone's got to be a busboy there. Someone's got to, whatever, work at the McDonald's.
There's got to be an area that's within 30 minutes or so where people can get to that.
And there's really not. The closest thing I'd say is Okeechobee, which is an hour from maybe over an hour from Boca. So
until the robot.
Port St. Lucie is an hour and a half.
Yeah, so, that's the thing is you can't really build those new anymore. So there's going to have to be some type of programs. And I have a friend of mine in Texas. He does Section 8 housing, but he does it, in a nice area where the schools are good, and he takes like the top, 1 or 2%, because there's a backlog of people that want to move,
of course,
out of these areas, and generally, he gets someone that's, a working mother or working father with older kids. Mm-hmm. So they're just moving there because of the high school or something like that, because where they live is probably not that good. And I think you're going to see a mix of all these different solutions, like, extra unit up, up units, probably some kind of abatement. So because you don't have to pay capital gains or taxes for, if you do 20% of the Class A deal. There's going to have to be a mix of solutions, because there's not going to be any one stop shop for any of it, because we don't really have any more land.
Right. Exactly. That's the point. And just the last point on that is when you compare somewhere, let's say here in South Florida with workforce housing versus, let's say, I don't know, I don't exactly know the market, but let's say Phoenix or Las Vegas or places in Texas. They have tons of land. And that's why you see these huge upswings in prices and then crazy downswings that we saw a bit of that in the last year and a half. Yeah. We don't see that here. There's been no real downswing in pricing. It's because there's just, you can't build anymore, and there's no more supply, and the demand is still there, if not increasing.
Yeah. And the thing that I'm looking at a lot over the next couple of years is that, one, there's lack of supply. 2, the people's personal debts are at all-time high, so that's going to come into play, and just the overall sentiment of everyone, like, will they start moving somewhere else? Because you see I see where I live now in Jensen Beach, a lot of people from here are moving up there.
Sure.
It's more affordable. When I moved up there almost 3 years ago now, my taxes, insurance, all my bills went to about a third of what it is. And now it's gone. My insurance doubled in the last 2 years.
And that's Martin County, Jensen.
Yeah,
Martin
County.
People that don't know, Palm Beach County is very expensive, but then when you cross the border into Martin County, into Stewart and Jensen, prices come down significantly. Cost of living, taxes. Yeah.
Well, now that it's one of the fastest growing counties in Florida, so now it's going to get.
It's the next Palm Beach County in 10 years.
Another 5 years, it's going to be saturated, and then I'll be moving all the way back to North Carolina, New York, whatever. New York will be cheap, probably.
Everyone will have moved out to Florida. They'll all be here.
Long Island again.
The circle, you go to Jamaica, where you're born.